My name is Derek Matthews. I just turned 19, and for most of my life, I thought maybe I was being dramatic. Maybe I was imagining the difference in how Mom treated me versus how she treated my sister Amanda and her kids. Maybe I was just being sensitive, like Dad always said. But this Christmas, on my 19th birthday actually, because yes, I was born on December 25th, I finally saw the truth so clearly that I could not ignore it anymore. And what I discovered in the weeks that followed made me realize that sometimes the person you trust most in the world has been lying to your face since before you could even remember. I grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, in one of those neighborhoods where everyone knows everyone and Christmas lights competitions are taken way too seriously. Our house was the white colonial on Maple Street, the one with the wraparound porch that Mom was always so proud of. I am the youngest of two kids. Amanda is 7 years older than me, which meant that by the time I was old enough to really remember things, she was already the golden child who could do no wrong. She got married at 22 to a guy named Brad who works in insurance, and they had two kids, Tyler and Madison, who are now 12 and 10. I always knew Amanda was the favorite. That is just a fact I grew up with, like knowing the sky is blue or that Iowa winters are brutal. But I told myself it was because she was the firstborn, because she gave Mom grandchildren, because she stayed close to home instead of talking about moving away for college like I always did. I convinced myself there were logical reasons for the difference in treatment and that it was not personal. My childhood was comfortable, but lonely in ways I did not really understand until I got older. Dad worked long hours as a regional manager for a manufacturing company, which meant he was gone a lot, and when he was home, he was usually too tired to notice much. Mom was a stay-at-home mother who seemed to pour all her energy into Amanda and later into Tyler and Madison. I was fed, clothed, taken to school, given the basics. But looking back now, I realize I was more like a tenant in my own home than a son. Amanda's life, on the other hand, was a parade of attention and support. Her cheerleading uniforms, her prom dresses, her wedding that cost more than a new car, the down payment Mom and Dad gave them for their house. Every milestone was celebrated like a national holiday. When she got pregnant with Tyler, you would have thought she was carrying the second coming. Mom threw her 3 separate baby showers. 3. I remember because I had to help set up for all of them. By the time I was in high school, the pattern was so established that I just accepted it as normal. Amanda's kids got the latest toys, the best birthday parties, family vacations planned around their schedules. I got used to hearing, "We cannot afford that right now," when I asked for new cleats for soccer, only to see Tyler unwrap a $200 gaming console the next week. I learned not to ask for much. I learned to make myself small and undemanding. I thought that was just how families worked when there was an age gap between siblings. I graduated high school last year and decided to take a gap year before college, partially because I genuinely wanted to work and save money, and partially because I was not sure what I wanted to study. I got a job at a local sporting goods store, moved into the basement apartment of our house that Dad had finished a few years back, and started paying $300 a month in rent. Yes, rent. To my own parents. Meanwhile, Amanda lived in a house that Mom and Dad helped buy, and when she complained about money, which was often, Mom always seemed to find a way to help. But I kept my head down. I worked 40 hours a week, sometimes more during busy seasons. I saved most of my paychecks. I figured once I went to college, I would be free of the weird dynamics of my family. I would create my own life, my own identity, separate from being Amanda's little brother or the son who was not quite good enough. Then came this Christmas, my 19th birthday, and Christmas on the same day like always. This should have been a double celebration, but in our family, December 25th was always just Christmas. My birthday got acknowledged with a happy birthday too, tagged onto the Merry Christmas wishes, like an afterthought. I had stopped expecting anything different years ago. The weeks leading up to Christmas were typical. Mom went into full holiday mode, decorating the house, planning the menu, buying gifts. She seemed more stressed than usual, though. When I asked if she needed help with anything, she snapped at me that she had it under control. 2 days before Christmas, I overheard her on the phone with Amanda. "I know, honey, I know the budget is tight this year," Mom was saying. I was in the kitchen making coffee, and she was in the living room, not realizing I could hear her. "But do not worry about the kids. They are going to have a great Christmas. I have been working on it for months. You just focus on getting through this rough patch." I wondered what rough patch she meant. Amanda and Brad seemed fine to me. They had just gotten back from a long weekend in Chicago. They had recently renovated their kitchen, but I did not think much about it. It was not my business. On Christmas Eve, we had our traditional family dinner. Me, Mom, Dad, Amanda, Brad, Tyler, and Madison. The kids were bouncing off the walls with excitement, and Amanda kept making comments about how this year was going to be more modest than usual. Mom nodded along, saying something about teaching the kids that Christmas was not about material things. We decided as a family, Mom announced during dinner, that this year everyone is getting something small, just 1 or 2 thoughtful gifts. We want to focus on being together, not on expensive presents. Tyler and Madison looked disappointed, but Amanda smiled at them encouragingly. "It will still be special," she promised. Brad agreed, adding something about learning the value of gratitude. I actually felt relieved. Maybe this meant things would be more equal for once. Maybe I would not feel like the poor relative at my own family Christmas. That night, I lay in my basement apartment, looking at the small pile of gifts I had bought for everyone. I had spent nearly $400, which was a significant chunk of my savings, but I wanted to get everyone something nice. A cashmere scarf for Mom that she had mentioned liking, a leather wallet for Dad, a gift card to Amanda's favorite spa, toys for Tyler and Madison that they had mentioned wanting. I felt good about my choices. For once, I was able to contribute meaningfully to Christmas. Christmas morning arrived, and I woke up early as always on my birthday. 19 years old, an adult. Technically, though I did not feel much different than I had at 18 or 17. I took a shower, got dressed in the nice sweater Mom had bought me last year, and headed upstairs. The living room looked like a department store had exploded. The tree was surrounded by carefully wrapped presents, way more than I expected given Mom's speech about modest gifts. But I figured maybe she meant modest per person, and with 7 of us, it still added up to a lot of packages. Amanda's family arrived at 8, the kids running straight to the tree. Mom served her famous cinnamon rolls and hot chocolate, and Dad turned on Christmas music. It could have been a Norman Rockwell painting, if you did not look too closely at the undercurrents. We started opening gifts in order of youngest to oldest, which meant Madison went first. She tore into her presents with typical 10-year-old enthusiasm. Clothes from American Eagle, a new iPad, AirPods, a charm bracelet from Pandora, gift cards to Target and Ulta. By the time she finished, there was a pile of wrapping paper around her and about $1,200 worth of gifts in her lap. Tyler went next. A new iPhone, the latest model, a PlayStation 5 with 3 games, Nike sneakers, the expensive kind, a skateboard, more clothes, easily $1,500 worth of stuff. I watched Mom's face as the kids opened their gifts. She was beaming, practically glowing with happiness at their excitement. Amanda kept thanking her, getting teary-eyed, saying she did not know how Mom had managed it, but the kids were so blessed. Dad went next, then Mom. They gave each other practical gifts. New gloves, a coffee maker they had been talking about replacing, nothing extravagant. Then it was Amanda's turn. She got a Dyson vacuum she had been wanting, a gift card to Nordstrom, some expensive candles, and a framed family photo. Maybe $700 or $800 total. Brad got some new tools, a nice cooler, and a gift card to his favorite restaurant. Probably $400. Then it was my turn. I opened my presents slowly, already feeling something cold settling in my stomach. A pack of socks from Target, the cheap ones, maybe $10. A generic picture frame with no picture in it. A $25 gift card to the sporting goods store where I work, which felt particularly thoughtless. And a book, one of those mass-market paperbacks you find in the bargain bin at the grocery store. That was it. Maybe $50 total, if I was being generous. I looked up, and everyone was watching me. Mom had this tight smile on her face, the one she gets when she is daring you to complain about something. Amanda was focused on helping Madison organize her new things. Dad was looking at his phone, already checked out. Tyler and Brad were talking about setting up the PlayStation. "Thank you," I said, my voice sounding hollow even to my own ears. "This is great." "I know it is not much," Mom said, and there was something almost challenging in her tone. "But, like we said, we are doing small gifts this year, teaching everyone that Christmas is not about materialism." I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab those AirPods and that iPhone and that iPad and ask her how those fit into the non-materialistic Christmas she was promoting. But I did not, because I was 19, and I still believed that if I just kept being good, kept being understanding, kept not making waves, eventually things would balance out. Eventually, I would get my turn. "It is my birthday too," I said quietly, not even sure why I was bothering to mention it. Mom blinked like she had genuinely forgotten. "Oh, right. Happy birthday, Derek. 19. My baby is all grown up." She said it in that absent way people say things they do not actually mean. Then she turned to Madison and started helping her set up her new iPad. I sat there surrounded by my dollar store gifts, while my nephew and niece played with thousands of dollars worth of electronics. Amanda caught my eye and mouthed sorry, but she did not look sorry. She looked satisfied, like this was exactly how things should be. We had Christmas breakfast, and I went through the motions. I smiled when I was supposed to smile. I laughed when something was funny. I helped clean up. I thanked Mom again for my gifts, forcing the words out like they were made of broken glass. Then I retreated to my basement apartment and sat on my bed, staring at my pile of pathetic presents. I was not a kid anymore. I was 19 years old, legally an adult, old enough to see patterns and recognize when something was deeply wrong. This was not about different love languages or birth order or any of the excuses I had made over the years. This was deliberate. This was cruel, and I needed to understand why. That night, after everyone had left and my parents had gone to bed, I did something I had never done before. I went into Mom's home office. I am not proud of snooping. I was raised to respect privacy, to trust that adults had reasons for their decisions, even if I did not understand them. But as I sat in the dark basement earlier, I realized that respect and trust had to go both ways, and my mother had shown me that morning that whatever I was to her, I was not valued the same way Amanda was. I needed to know why. I needed to understand if there was something wrong with me, something I had done or failed to do that made me less worthy of love. Mom's office was tidy as always, everything in its place. She kept files on the family finances, important documents, that sort of thing. I started with the filing cabinet, not even sure what I was looking for. I found the Christmas budget spreadsheet in a folder labeled Holiday Planning 2024. Mom was meticulous about tracking expenses. I could see every purchase, every gift, every amount spent. Madison, $2,100. Tyler, $2,300. Amanda, $850. Brad, $420. Dad, $300. Mom, $250. And me, Derek, $53.12. I stared at that number for a long time. $53.12. On my birthday, for the son who lived in their house and paid them rent and never asked for anything and worked 40 hours a week and had done everything right. But that was not the worst of it. As I kept digging through the files, I found something else. A folder labeled college funds. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside were statements for 2 accounts. One for Amanda, established when she was born, showing regular contributions over 18 years. She had used that money for her college tuition, her wedding, and the down payment on her house. The account was now empty, but the history showed that my parents had put nearly $80,000 into it over the years. The other account was supposed to be mine, established when I was born, the same type of account, the same starting contributions. But as I read through the statements, I saw that something had changed when I was 7 years old. The regular contributions stopped, and then slowly, systematically, money started being withdrawn. I went back to the filing cabinet and found more documents, records of withdrawals from my college fund, each one marked with a note. Tyler's preschool tuition, Madison's medical bills, Amanda and Brad's down payment assistance, Tyler's private school fees, Madison's dance lessons, Amanda's car repair. They had been draining my college fund for 12 years to support Amanda and her children. Every withdrawal, every transfer, carefully documented. Over $60,000 gone. Money that was supposed to be mine, money that was supposed to give me a start in life, had been handed over to my sister and her family, and no one had ever told me. I sat on the floor of Mom's office with papers scattered around me, and something inside me broke open, not my heart exactly, but some protective shell I had built around myself. All those years of making excuses for her, of convincing myself that I was being oversensitive, of believing that she loved us equally, but just showed it differently. All of that shattered in an instant. She had stolen from me. That is what this was. Not borrowing, not reallocating family resources, not making tough financial decisions. Stealing. She had taken money that was legally mine, money that had been set aside specifically for my future, and given it to Amanda. And then she had the audacity to give me $53 worth of garbage for Christmas, while showering my nephews with thousands of dollars worth of gifts bought with what remained of the family money. I do not know how long I sat there. Long enough that my legs went numb. Long enough that I cycled through shock, grief, rage, and back to shock again. Finally, I carefully put everything back exactly as I had found it. I took photos of the important documents with my phone, making sure the account numbers and amounts were clearly visible. Then I went back to my apartment and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what to do with this information. I could not pretend I did not know. I could not go back to being the good son who did not make waves. Not after this. But I also was not sure what confronting them would accomplish. Would Mom admit what she had done? Would she apologize? Would anything actually change? I spent the next 2 days in a fog. I went to work and smiled at customers and rang up purchases and pretended everything was normal. But inside, I was planning. I am not naturally a confrontational person. I am the one who smooths things over, who finds the compromise, who keeps the peace. But I had been doing that my entire life, and where had it gotten me? Alone in a basement apartment, paying rent to parents who had stolen from me, treated like a second-class citizen in my own family. On December 27th, I called my manager at work and told her I needed to take a few days off. Then I started researching. I looked up laws about custodial accounts, about gifts to minors, about legal remedies. I joined online forums for people who had been financially abused by family members. I read stories that made my situation look mild and others that were eerily similar to mine. And slowly, I began to formulate a plan. That evening, I asked Mom if we could talk privately. She seemed surprised but agreed, leading me into the living room while Dad watched television in the den. I sat across from her on the couch we had bought at a garage sale when I was in middle school, because we could not afford new furniture, and I looked at this woman who had raised me. She was 52 years old, still pretty in that polished suburban way, with blonde hair she got highlighted every 6 weeks, and the kind of clothes that were expensive but not showy. She looked like every other mother in Cedar Rapids. She looked normal. "I found something in your office," I said. No preamble, no easing into it. I found the college fund statements. Her face did not change expression immediately. For just a second, I saw confusion, like she was trying to figure out which documents I meant. Then understanding dawned, followed by something I had never seen directed at me before. Not quite anger, but close. Irritation mixed with a kind of cold calculation. "You went through my private files," she said. "Not a question, an accusation. You stole $60,000 from me." My voice was steady, which surprised me. "Money that was set aside for my education. You took it and gave it to Amanda." "I did not steal anything," Mom said sharply. "That money was in an account under my name. Legally, I had every right to use it as I saw fit for the family's needs. It was my college fund. My grandparents contributed to it. Your parents, they put money in there specifically for me. And I used it for family expenses. Amanda needed help. She and Brad were struggling. Tyler and Madison are my grandchildren. Would you have wanted them to suffer?" The deflection was so smooth, so practiced, that I wondered if she had been preparing for this conversation in her head for years, preparing her justifications, her reasons, her excuses. "I want to know why," I said. "Not the surface reason about Amanda needing help. I want to know why you have always treated me like I matter less than her. Why I got socks for Christmas while Tyler got an iPhone. Why you spent over $4,000 on them and $53 on me. Why I am paying you rent while Amanda lives in a house you helped buy. I want to understand why I am not worth the same as her." Mom leaned back and crossed her arms. "You are being dramatic. Amanda has children. Her expenses are higher, and she has always been more appreciative of what we do for her. You, Derek, you have always been difficult. Even as a child, you were demanding, always wanting attention, always competing with your sister. I did what I thought was best to keep the peace in this family. I felt like I had been slapped. Difficult? I have never asked you for anything. I work 40 hours a week. I pay you rent. I have stayed out of your way my entire life." "Exactly," she said, and there was something triumphant in her tone. "You have always been distant, cold. You do not connect with the family the way Amanda does. She calls me every day. She includes me in her life. She values family. You have always been planning your escape, talking about moving away, going to college out of state. Why should I invest in someone who does not want to be here?" The logic was so twisted that for a moment I could not even process it. She was punishing me for not being sufficiently grateful for her poor treatment. She was justifying stealing from me because I had not been clingy enough, had not kissed her feet for the bare minimum of care. "I am not distant," I said quietly. "I am hurt. I have been hurt for years, and you either did not notice or did not care. And when did I have a chance to appreciate you when everything went to Amanda? How could I compete with someone who was always going to win?" "This is not a competition," Mom snapped. "Then why does it feel like one? Why does it feel like there was only ever enough love for one of us, and Amanda got all of it?" Mom stood up abruptly. "I am not going to sit here and be attacked in my own home. I have been a good mother to you, Derek. I have fed you, clothed you, kept a roof over your head. If you cannot appreciate that, if you are going to throw accusations around about money that was used for legitimate family needs, then maybe you should think about whether you want to continue living here." And there it was, the threat, the line in the sand. Accept the way things are, or get out. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw someone I did not recognize. Or maybe I saw someone clearly for the first time. A woman who had decided long ago that one child was worth more than the other, who had spent years justifying that decision, and who would never admit she was wrong. "Okay," I said, "I will think about it." I went back to my apartment and sat in the dark for a long time. Then I opened my laptop and started making calls. I called my grandparents on Mom's side, the ones who had contributed to my college fund. I called Dad's brother, my Uncle Tom, who lived in Des Moines. I called the free legal clinic at the university. I made a list of everyone I needed to talk to and everything I needed to do, because here is what I realized sitting there in the dark. I was 19 years old. I was an adult, and being an adult meant I did not have to accept being treated like garbage just because the person doing it called herself my mother. It meant I could make my own choices, my own path, my own family if necessary. The next morning, I called into work and quit my job, not because I wanted to, but because I needed flexibility for what was coming. Then I drove to Des Moines to meet with Uncle Tom. Tom was Dad's younger brother, single, never married, worked as an engineer. He and I had always gotten along, but we were not especially close. He lived 2 hours away and usually only showed up for major holidays. But when I called him and told him I needed to talk, he agreed immediately. We met at a coffee shop near his apartment. I brought my laptop with the photos of the documents. I told him everything, starting with Christmas and working backward through my whole childhood. He listened without interrupting, his expression getting darker as I talked. When I finished, he sat back and let out a long breath. "I always wondered," he said, "about the difference between how they treated you and Amanda. But I told myself it was not my place to interfere. I should have said something. Could you have changed anything?" I asked. "Probably not. Your mother is one of the most stubborn people I have ever met. But I could have made sure you knew someone saw it. Someone thought it was wrong." He reached across the table and gripped my shoulder. "I am sorry, Derek. I am sorry I was not there for you." I felt my throat tighten. This was the first time an adult in my family had validated my experience, had confirmed that I was not crazy or oversensitive. "I need help," I said. "I need to get out of there, and I need to figure out if there is any way to get my college fund money back." Tom nodded slowly. "You can stay with me. I have a spare room, rent-free until you get back on your feet. As for the money, I am not sure, but I have a friend who is a lawyer. Let me make some calls." We spent the next 3 hours making plans. Tom called his lawyer friend, who agreed to meet with us the following week. We looked at my finances and figured out a budget. Tom offered to help me find a new job in Des Moines. For the first time since Christmas, I felt like I could breathe. I drove back to Cedar Rapids that evening and started packing. I did not have much, really. Clothes, books, my laptop, personal items. I could fit everything I owned in my car. As I packed, I kept thinking about all the things I was leaving behind. Not physical things, but the idea of family, of parents who cared about me, of a sister I could count on. I was grieving for something I realized I had never really had. Mom knocked on my door around 9. I let her in, and she looked at the boxes stacked in the corner. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice tight. "Moving out. I am going to stay with Uncle Tom for a while." "You are being ridiculous. You are throwing a tantrum over nothing." "Over nothing?" I turned to face her. "You stole from me. You have treated me like I do not matter my entire life. You spent $4,000 on Amanda's kids and $50 on me for Christmas. And when I tried to talk to you about it, you threatened to kick me out. So I am leaving. I am making it easy for you." Mom's face flushed. "If you walk out that door, do not expect to come crawling back when things do not work out. Do not expect us to bail you out when you realize how hard the real world is." I almost laughed. The real world cannot be harder than living with people who are supposed to love me, but treat me like a burden. I will take my chances. "You are going to regret this," she said, "and you are going to regret ruining this family." "I am not the one who ruined anything," I said quietly. "I am just the first one to admit it is broken." She left without another word. I heard her go upstairs, heard her talking to Dad in a low, urgent voice. But Dad did not come down to talk to me. He never did. He had spent my whole life letting Mom make the decisions, abdicating his responsibility as a father. He was not going to start standing up for me now. I finished packing that night. The next morning, I loaded everything into my car. It was December 30th, 3 days after I had discovered the truth about my college fund. As I pulled out of the driveway, I looked back at the white colonial house with the wraparound porch. It had been my home for 19 years, but it had never really been my sanctuary, and I was not going to miss it. The drive to Des Moines felt like crossing into a different country. With every mile, I felt lighter. Uncle Tom was waiting when I arrived, helped me carry my boxes into the spare room. It was small but clean, with a window that looked out over the city. My own space, a place where I was wanted. That week, I met with Tom's lawyer friend, Sarah Chun. She reviewed the documents I had brought and gave me the hard truth. Because the college fund had been in a custodial account under Mom's control, and because I was over 18, there was not much legal recourse. The money was gone, unless I wanted to sue my parents, which would cost more money than I could hope to recover. I had to accept it as a loss. "What you can do," Sarah said, "is make sure your grandparents know what happened to their contributions. They may have options to pursue, especially if they can prove the money was given with specific instructions that it be used for your education." I called my grandparents that evening. They were horrified. Grandpa had served in the military and had strong opinions about honor and keeping your word. When I explained that the money they had faithfully sent for my college fund had been used to send Tyler to private school and pay for Amanda's kitchen renovation, he was livid. "We trusted her," he said, his voice shaking. "We trusted your mother to do right by you. I am going to call her right now." "Grandpa, wait," I said. "I need you to think about what you want to accomplish. If you call her angry, she is just going to get defensive. She already thinks I am being dramatic. If you come at her the same way, it will just give her ammunition to play the victim." There was silence on the other end. Then Grandpa said, "You are right. You are smarter than your old grandfather. What do you think we should do? Talk to Sarah, Uncle Tom's lawyer friend. See if there is a legal way to address this, and maybe write down exactly what you intended when you sent that money. If there is ever a formal dispute, having your contemporaneous intent documented could matter." Over the next 2 weeks, I started building my new life. I got a job at a sporting goods store in Des Moines, similar to my old job but with better pay. I enrolled in community college classes starting in January, planning to get my basics done affordably before transferring to a 4-year school. Uncle Tom and I fell into an easy routine, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was living with someone who actually wanted me around. My grandparents did consult with Sarah, and she helped them draft a formal letter to my parents demanding an accounting of all the money they had contributed to my college fund and requesting it be repaid. The letter was firm but professional, laying out the facts without emotion. They sent it certified mail. Mom called me 3 days after receiving the letter. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. After the 5th call, I listened to the messages. Each one was a variation on the same theme. I was ungrateful. I was tearing the family apart. I had poisoned my grandparents against her. I had turned Uncle Tom against her. I was going to regret this. Finally, I called her back. "I need you to stop calling me," I said. "If you want to communicate, do it through email or text. I am not going to have these conversations where you yell at me and tell me I am the problem." "I am your mother," she said. Like that explained everything, justified everything. "You are supposed to be my mother," I corrected. "But mothers do not steal from their children. They do not show blatant favoritism. They do not throw their kids away when those kids dare to stand up for themselves. You had 19 years to be my mother. You chose not to. I am done giving you chances. Derek, please." And for the first time, I heard something other than anger in her voice. Something that might have been fear. "We can work this out. You can come home. We can talk about the college fund. Maybe set up a payment plan." "I do not want a payment plan," I said. "I want you to admit what you did was wrong. I want you to acknowledge that you treated me unfairly my entire life. I want you to take responsibility." "I did what I thought was best for the family," she said, falling back on her standard defense. "Then we have nothing more to talk about," I said, and I hung up. The holidays came and went. I spent New Year's Eve with Uncle Tom and some of his friends, ordinary people with ordinary problems, and it was one of the best nights I had in years. On New Year's Day, I got a text from Amanda. It was the first time she had reached out since I left. "Mom told me what happened. I think you are overreacting. She has always loved you. You just never appreciated everything she did for you." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back, "Did you know about my college fund? Did you know she took $60,000 that was supposed to be mine and gave it to you?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then she told me it was her money to use how she wanted. She said you did not need it as much as we did. And you were okay with that. "I have 2 kids, Derek. Do you know how expensive it is to raise children? Mom was helping us survive. If you cannot understand that, then you are more selfish than I thought." I blocked her number. I did not need that poison in my life anymore. January turned into February. I was settling into my classes, working 25 hours a week, and slowly starting to feel like a person again instead of the family scapegoat. My grandparents kept in regular contact, calling me every Sunday to check in and offer support. They were adamant about pursuing the money they had contributed to my college fund, and Sarah was helping them build a case. In mid-February, I got an unexpected call from my father. Not Mom, but Dad. In 19 years, I could probably count on one hand the number of times he had called me directly about anything important. "Derek," he said when I answered, "we need to talk." "About what?" I kept my voice neutral, guarded. "Your mother is not doing well. She has been crying constantly. She is not sleeping. This situation with your grandparents threatening legal action, with you not speaking to her, it is destroying her. You need to come home and work this out." Something hot and sharp twisted in my chest. "She is not doing well. Dad, she stole from me. She has treated me like I do not matter my entire life. And now that there are actual consequences for her actions, I am supposed to feel sorry for her." "She is your mother," Dad said, and I heard the same justification Mom always used. "She made some mistakes, but she loves you. This family is falling apart, and you are the only one who can fix it." "No," I said firmly. "I am not the one who broke it, and I am not responsible for fixing it. Mom broke it when she decided Amanda was worth more than me. She broke it when she took my college fund. She broke it when she gave me $50 for Christmas while spending thousands on Amanda's kids. And you broke it, Dad, by letting all of that happen, by never once standing up for me, by always taking the easy road of staying out of it. Derek, that is not fair." "Yes, it is. You are my father. You were supposed to protect me. You were supposed to notice that I was being treated differently and do something about it. But you never did. You let Mom run everything, and you pretended not to see what was happening. You are just as responsible as she is." There was a long silence. Then Dad said, in a voice I had never heard from him before, small and defeated, "You are right." I was so shocked I almost dropped my phone. "What?" "You are right," he repeated. "I did see it. I knew your mother favored Amanda. I told myself it was because Amanda was easier, more affectionate, more like your mother. I told myself you were fine, that you were independent and did not need as much attention. But that was an excuse. I was lazy, Derek. I worked long hours because it was easier than dealing with family problems. And I let your mother do whatever she wanted because confronting her would have been uncomfortable. I failed you." I sat down on my bed, trying to process this. My father, admitting fault. My father, acknowledging what I had lived through. It felt surreal. Why did she do it, Dad? Why does she hate me so much? "She does not hate you," Dad said, then caught himself. "No, let me be honest for once. I do not think she hates you. I think she resents you. And I think I know why, but it is not my story to tell." "Tell me anyway." Dad sighed. "Your mother did not want another child. When she got pregnant with you, Amanda was 7, and your mother felt like she was finally getting her life back. She was planning to go back to work, to have her own identity again. Then she found out she was pregnant, and she felt trapped. She never said it directly, but I think she blamed you for derailing her plans. And then, when you were born on Christmas Day, her favorite holiday, it was like you had taken that from her too." The words hit me like physical blows. So I have been paying my entire life for being born, for existing when she did not want me to. "It is not right," Dad said. "It was never right, and I should have protected you from it. I should have made her go to therapy, or I should have left and taken you with me or something. Instead, I buried my head in the sand and told myself it would all work out." "What do you want from me, Dad? Why are you telling me this now?" "Because you deserve to know the truth, and because I want you to understand that what is happening to your mother now, the consequences she is facing, they are not your fault. She made her choices. I made mine. You are the only one in this family who did not do anything wrong." I felt tears burning in my eyes. 19 years of wondering what was wrong with me, why I was not good enough, why I could not earn my mother's love. And it had nothing to do with me. It had never been about me. I was just the convenient target for her resentment about choices she had made. "I am not coming home," I said finally. "I am not going to sacrifice my mental health to make her feel better about herself. If she wants to repair this relationship, she needs to do the work. She needs to admit what she did, apologize sincerely, and make actual changes. Not just say the words to get me back in line." "I understand," Dad said, "and I do not blame you. For what it is worth, I am proud of you. You are stronger than I ever was." After we hung up, I sat in my room for a long time, processing everything. Uncle Tom knocked on my door eventually, brought me some dinner, and sat with me while I told him about the conversation. He listened the way he always did, without judgment, just presence. "You know," Tom said when I finished, "your dad and I grew up with parents who believed you did not talk about problems. You just endured them. He learned to avoid conflict, and I learned to keep my distance. Neither of us learned how to fight for people we care about. But you, Derek, you are breaking that cycle. You are standing up for yourself. That takes more courage than you know." The legal process with my grandparents moved slowly. Mom refused to respond to their initial letter, so Sarah filed a formal complaint in civil court on their behalf. The lawsuit was not for the full amount of the college fund, because proving that would have been nearly impossible, but for the specific amounts my grandparents could document having sent, with clear notation that it was for educational purposes. It totaled about $18,000. Once the lawsuit was filed, things escalated quickly. Mom hired a lawyer, some guy who had done her will years ago. There was back and forth, depositions, document requests. Sarah was thorough and professional, and she built a case that was hard to refute. My grandparents had bank records showing regular transfers to my college fund. They had birthday cards and letters where they mentioned contributing to my education. They had testimony from family friends who remembered conversations about helping with my college expenses. Mom's defense was that the money had been given as gifts to her, to use as she saw fit for family needs. But Sarah countered with the legal standard for restricted gifts, arguing that money given specifically for a minor child's education creates a fiduciary duty for the custodian to use it for that purpose. It was not a slam-dunk case, but it was strong enough that Mom's lawyer started pushing for settlement. In April, 3 months after I had left home, Sarah called with news. They're offering $10,000 to settle and make this go away. No admission of wrongdoing, just a payment to your grandparents to compensate them for their contributions. That is not even the full amount, I said. No, but it is what we can prove with documentation. And it avoids a trial, which could go either way and would definitely be expensive and emotionally draining for everyone. Your grandparents get to decide, but I wanted to get your input first. I thought about it. $10,000 would not change my life dramatically, but it would help with college. More importantly, it was an acknowledgement, even without the words, that what Mom had done was wrong, that there were consequences for stealing from your own child. Tell them I think they should take it, I said, not because it is fair, but because I do not want to spend the next year of my life fighting about this. I want to move forward. My grandparents agreed. The settlement was finalized in May. The money went into a new account in my name only, one that no one else could access. It would not pay for 4 years of university, but it would cover community college and help with expenses when I transferred. Throughout all of this, Mom never reached out to me directly. Amanda sent a few more messages that I ignored, mostly guilt trips about how I was tearing the family apart. Dad called occasionally, awkward conversations where he tried to build a relationship he had never bothered with when I was under his roof. I was cordial but distant. I had not figured out yet if I wanted him in my life, or if his sudden interest was too little, too late. In June, I got a letter in the mail at Uncle Tom's address. Actual mail, with a handwritten envelope. The return address was my childhood home. I almost threw it away without opening it, but curiosity won out. Inside was a card, one of those generic thinking of you cards from the drugstore. And inside the card was a letter in Mom's handwriting. Derek. It began, I have been trying to figure out what to say to you for months. I have started this letter dozens of times and thrown it away because nothing sounds right. But your father says I need to at least try, so here is my attempt. I am sorry. I know those words are not enough, and I know you probably do not believe them. But I need to say them anyway. I am sorry for how I treated you growing up. I am sorry for favoring Amanda. I am sorry for using your college fund money without telling you. I am sorry for that awful Christmas. You deserved better. You have always deserved better. I do not have a good excuse. Your father told you about how I felt when I got pregnant with you, and he was right. I was angry about being pregnant again when I had finally started to feel like myself. And somehow over the years, that anger turned into resentment, and I took it out on you in ways that were unfair and cruel. You were a child. None of it was your fault. I should have gotten therapy. I should have dealt with my issues instead of making them your problem. I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not think I deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that you were right about everything. You were not difficult. You were not demanding. You were a good kid who deserved a better mother. I am going to therapy now, twice a week. It is hard and uncomfortable and I hate it, but your father insisted and he is right. I need to work on myself. I need to understand why I did what I did, so I do not keep hurting people. If you ever want to talk, I am here, but I understand if you do not. I hope you are happy, Derek. I hope you are building the life you want. You deserve all the happiness in the world. Mom. I read the letter 3 times, looking for the catch, the manipulation, the part where she made it about her, or tried to minimize what she had done, but it was not there. The letter was clumsy and inadequate, but it seemed genuine. She had admitted fault. She had not made excuses or blamed me. She had acknowledged that I deserved. I did not know what to do with it, so I showed it to Uncle Tom. He read it carefully, then handed it back. "What do you think?" he asked. "I think it is what I wanted her to say 6 months ago," I admitted, "but I do not know if it changes anything now." "It does not have to change anything," Tom said. "You can accept an apology without reconciling. You can acknowledge that someone is working on themselves without inviting them back into your life. You get to decide what boundaries you need, and those boundaries can change over time or stay exactly where they are." I kept the letter. I did not respond to it, but I kept it, and over the summer as I worked and took classes and slowly built a support network of friends and mentors who actually cared about me, I thought about what I wanted. Did I want a relationship with my mother? I was not sure. The damage was deep, years and years of accumulated hurt. Therapy would help her, but it would not erase what she had done. It would not give me back the childhood I should have had. But did I want to carry around anger and resentment for the rest of my life? No, that did not serve me either. In August, on what would have been my 20th birthday if it had not also been Christmas, I finally sent Mom an email. I had thought about calling, but I needed to do this in writing where I could control my words and not get swept up in emotion. "Mom," I wrote, "I got your letter. Thank you for apologizing. I appreciate that you are getting help and working on yourself. That is important, and it is the right thing to do. I am not ready to have a relationship with you yet. I do not know if I ever will be. The hurt runs too deep, and I need to protect my own mental health and continue building my life. But I do not hate you. I am not trying to punish you. I am just trying to heal from growing up feeling unwanted in my own home. Maybe someday we can talk. Maybe someday I will be in a place where I can have you in my life in some capacity. But today is not that day, and I need you to respect that. I need you to stop having Amanda contact me. I need you to accept that I have boundaries and that pushing against them will only make things worse. If you can do that, if you can give me space and time without making it about your feelings or your need for resolution, then maybe there is a path forward eventually. But it has to be on my timeline, not yours. I hope you continue with therapy. I hope you work on your relationship with Amanda and that you do better with Tyler and Madison than you did with me and her. I hope you and Dad figure out how to communicate after all these years of avoiding hard conversations. I want you to be happy, Mom. But my responsibility is to my own happiness first. Take care of yourself. Derek. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. And then I closed my laptop and went to meet some friends from school, because that was my life now, not defined by family dysfunction or fighting for scraps of affection, but defined by the things I chose, the people I let in, the future I was building. Mom responded 2 days later with a simple message. "I understand. Take all the time you need. I love you." I did not respond to that, but I did not delete it either. Months went by. I finished my first year of community college with a 3.8 GPA. I got promoted at work. I started dating someone, a girl named Rachel from my English class, and for the first time, I experienced what it was like to be with someone who chose me first, who did not make me feel like I had to earn affection. Uncle Tom and I became more than just roommates or even family. We became real friends, the kind who watched games together and debated movies and had actual conversations about life. My grandparents stayed in close contact, and I visited them regularly. They were getting older, and I treasured the time with them in a way I never had before, because they were the ones who had fought for me when it mattered. Dad and I had lunch once a month, awkward at first, but gradually getting easier. He was trying, in his way, to make up for lost time. I was not sure it was possible to make up for 19 years of absence, but I appreciated the effort. Amanda and I did not speak. She had made her choice to stand with Mom and to benefit from the stolen money without any remorse. Maybe someday that would change, but I was not holding my breath. Brad and the kids were strangers to me, and that was fine. Blood does not obligate you to maintain relationships that hurt you. By December, almost a year after the Christmas that had changed everything, I was preparing for my second semester and making plans to transfer to Iowa State the following fall. I had built a life I was proud of, one that belonged to me. No one was taking anything from me anymore. No one was making me feel small or unworthy. I had taken control of my own story. On Christmas Eve, I was at Uncle Tom's apartment, decorating the small tree we had bought together when my phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Your mom asked me to tell you that she understands if you do not want to see her, but she wanted you to know that she thinks about you every day, and that she is proud of the man you are becoming. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, tell her thank you, and tell her I am doing well. It was not forgiveness. It was not reconciliation, but it was acknowledgement. We were both trying, in our own ways, to move forward from the wreckage of our relationship. Whether that ever led to something more, I did not know. Maybe it would. Maybe it would not. But I had learned the most important lesson of my adult life. I could not control how other people treated me. I could only control how I responded. And I chose to respond by building a life worth living, surrounded by people who actually valued me. Christmas morning, Uncle Tom and I exchanged modest gifts, made a big breakfast, and spent the day watching movies and playing video games. It was simple, it was peaceful, and it was everything that Christmas at my family home had never been. No competition, no favoritism, no walking on eggshells. Just two people who cared about each other, enjoying the holiday together. As I sat there, I thought about the kid I had been a year ago, sitting on his bed surrounded by cheap socks and a bargain bin book, feeling worthless and confused. That kid would not recognize the person I had become. That kid was still trying to earn love from people who could not give it, still hoping that if he was just good enough, quiet enough, undemanding enough, maybe things would change. But I had learned the hard truth. You cannot make people love you the way you need to be loved. You cannot sacrifice yourself down to nothing in hopes of finally being enough. All you can do is love yourself enough to walk away from situations that diminish you. All you can do is find people who see your worth without you having to prove it constantly. In January, right before the spring semester started, I got one more letter from Mom. This one was different from the first. Longer, more detailed, more honest. She wrote about her own childhood, about her mother's criticism and impossible standards. She wrote about getting pregnant with Amanda at 22 before she felt ready, and how becoming a mother had felt like losing herself. She wrote about the pressure to be perfect, to have the perfect family, to prove she was not the mess her own mother had predicted she would be. She wrote about how Amanda had been an easy baby, a compliant child, someone who made her feel successful as a mother. And she wrote about how I had been colicky, difficult to soothe, more independent and questioning. She admitted that instead of appreciating my differences, she had resented them, that she had taken my independence as rejection, and she had responded by pulling away first. "I do not tell you this to make excuses," she wrote. "I tell you this because I want you to understand that it was never about you. You were a beautiful child. You were smart and curious and kind. You deserved a mother who celebrated those qualities instead of punishing you for them. I was dealing with my own unhealed wounds, and I let them dictate how I treated you. That is my failure, my responsibility, my shame to carry, not yours." She ended the letter with, "I am not asking you to forgive me or to come back into my life. I am just asking you to believe that you are worthy of love, of good treatment, of respect. You always were, and I am sorry I spent so many years making you doubt that." I cried when I finished reading it, not because it fixed anything or because I suddenly wanted to rush back into her arms, but because it was the truth I had needed to hear my entire life, that I had not been the problem, that I had never been the problem. I wrote back, a shorter letter this time. "Thank you for telling me this. It helps to understand where the patterns came from, even though it does not excuse them. I am glad you are working on yourself. I hope it brings you peace. I am working on myself too. Therapy, journaling, figuring out who I am outside of our family dynamics. It is hard work, but it is worth it. Maybe someday we can be in each other's lives in some healthy way. But for now, I need to keep my distance and focus on healing. I hope you can respect that. Derek." Spring semester flew by. I made Dean's List, got accepted to Iowa State for fall, and even managed to save enough money for a better car. Rachel and I broke up amicably when we both realized we wanted different things, but we stayed friends. I joined an intramural soccer league and reconnected with the sport I had loved as a kid, but had let fall away when I was too busy just surviving at home. In May, I turned 20, not a milestone age, but it felt significant to me. 2 decades of life, and I had spent the last year and a half becoming the person I wanted to be. Uncle Tom threw me a small party with some friends from school and work. There were no expensive gifts, no displays of favoritism, no undercurrents of resentment, just people who liked me, celebrating me, wanting me to be happy. That night, after everyone had left, Tom and I sat on his balcony looking at the city lights. "You did it," he said. "You got out. You built a life. You took control of your own story. Your 19-year-old self would be proud." "I could not have done it without you," I said honestly. "You gave me a place to land when I jumped." "You would have found a way," Tom said. "You are stronger than you know, Derek. You always have been." As I sat there, I thought about the journey, from that awful Christmas morning to this moment, sitting on a balcony with someone who valued me, looking forward to a future that was mine to shape. It had not been easy. There had been moments of doubt, of grief, of wondering if I had made the wrong choice by leaving. But I had not. I had made the only choice that respected my own worth and dignity. I thought about Mom, in therapy, doing her own work. I hoped she was finding peace. I hoped she was learning to be a better person, even if we never had a close relationship again, because her healing was important, not for me, but for her. She deserved to live without the weight of her own damage, just like I deserved to live without being crushed by it. I thought about Amanda, and I felt mostly sadness. Sadness that she had never questioned why one sibling got so much while the other got so little. Sadness that she had been willing to benefit from injustice without examining her own complicity. Maybe someday she would do her own work and realize what our family dynamic had really been. Maybe not. Either way, it was not my responsibility to educate her or to sacrifice my own well-being to maintain a relationship with her. I thought about Dad, trying in his awkward way to be present now. It did not make up for his absence before, but it was something. We would probably never have a deep relationship, but we had something, and that was more than we had a year ago. And I thought about myself, the boy who had believed for so long that he was not good enough, not worthy of love, not deserving of the same treatment as his sister. That boy was healing, slowly, painfully, but definitely healing. He was learning that his worth was inherent, not earned, that he deserved kindness, respect, and equal treatment as a baseline, not as a reward for perfect behavior. The future stretched out ahead of me, full of possibility. Iowa State in the fall, a degree in something I actually cared about, a career built on my own merits, relationships with people who saw me and valued me, a family that I chose, not just the one I was born into. That was the gift I had given myself by walking away that December morning, the gift of a future that belonged to me. As I sat there on the balcony, my phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Your mother wanted me to tell you that she is thinking of you on your birthday. She hopes you are having a good day. I looked at the message for a moment, then typed back, tell her thank you. I am having a great day. And I was, because I had learned the most important lesson that difficult year had taught me. Sometimes loving yourself means walking away from people who cannot love you properly. Sometimes protecting yourself means creating distance from toxicity, even when that toxicity comes from family. Sometimes being an adult means making the hard choice to prioritize your own mental health and well-being over maintaining relationships that hurt you. I had made that choice, and every day as I built my life and became more fully myself, I knew it had been the right one. The Christmas that broke everything had also set me free, and that freedom, hard won and painful as it was, had given me the space to become someone I was proud to be. My name is Derek Matthews. I am 20 years old, and I am finally free to be myself, loved by people who choose me first, building a future that is entirely my own. It took walking away from my family to find my family. It took losing what I thought was home to create a real home. It took 19 years of being made to feel small to finally claim my own size. And if I could go back to that Christmas morning, to the boy holding his dollar store socks and wondering what he had done wrong, I would tell him this: nothing. You did nothing wrong. You are enough. You have always been enough. And someday soon, you are going to be free. Hold on just a little longer. Your real life is waiting. Thank you for listening to my story of growing up faster than I ever wanted to. I have left 2 more stories on your screen, both from young men who learned that sometimes becoming an adult does not happen at 18. It happens the moment your family needs you to be strong. Click on whichever one speaks to you. And if you want to join our community of people who understand what it is like to be forced to grow up overnight, that notification bell is waiting. Until tomorrow, remember, age is just a number, but courage defines who you really are.